Hello, hello. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Blaine Wright. Work with Motel 2 Apartments. I'm the acquisitions executive for Motel 2 Apartments, and we've been in business about 5 years or so, working on our fifth project, properties in Arizona and South Texas. So good to be here. We're about a week away from Thanksgiving, so hopefully everybody's getting ready for that, and hopefully you are warm and dry wherever you may be, or maybe you are warm and doing great if you live in a Sunbelt state like I do. I live in Arizona. So we're just going to go over what we do and how we do it. And I'm going to share my screen here. And yeah, we'll go from there. Alrighty, so we're just going to go over our basic buy box for multiple apartments and what we look for and why we look for them. So first of all, we're going to talk about target market. So we like Sunbelt states, so Texas and Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, major metros in Texas, even secondary metros would be okay. We're actually doing a project in Brownsville, Texas, down in southwest Texas. And so that'd be an area that we've done projects that we'd be familiar with if you have something down there. Arizona, that's actually where a good chunk of our company is based in the Phoenix area. So Phoenix, Tempe, Chandler, Scottsdale. So those other three cities, Tempe, Chandler, Scottsdale, those are actually suburb cities that are in the Phoenix metro area. And then like Tempe is where Arizona State University is, one of the largest public universities in the country. And Scottsdale is a high-end area, and as is Chandler. Those are two of the higher-end areas of the Phoenix metro area. Great areas to have assets. And then Sunbelt states also in the Southeast. So in North Carolina, Charlotte, Raleigh, Nashville, Tennessee, Miami, Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, Jacksonville in Florida, and then Atlanta, Georgia, another place that we would look at. And, really any major metros in the Southeast and Sunbelt states. And the question I always get, well, why Sunbelt states? Well, population migration is moving to the Sunbelt states. They're moving to Florida. They're moving to Arizona. They're moving to Texas. They're leaving the Northeast and they're heading south. That's just what the population migration has been the last 5 to 7 years. And so with that, they need housing and they need affordable housing. And so this is kind of what we're looking for to do that. All right. So let's talk about what kind of property do we look for. So age, we'd like 80s or 1980s or newer, preferably. We would look at something older. We have a Brownsville property that it's mid to early 70s that we purchased. And so we will look at that. But the reason we want 1980s or newer, number one, we do not have to deal with asbestos remediation, which that is very costly, very time consuming, and it makes it just that much harder to do what we need to do. And then also, you're dealing with older sewer, older electrical, older plumbing, and whatnot. And so those are a couple things that we take into consideration as far as our cost basis goes. Room size has to be 300 square foot minimum. The question I always get, well, what about 250 square feet? Well, the reality is this. All of our assets, if they don't have kitchenettes in them, we will be putting kitchenettes in them. So with that, we have, through experience, 300 square feet is really the minimum size that we can make it functional. If you're adding a refrigerator, if you're adding a cooktop, if you're adding a sink, so if you're adding those things, adding a dishwasher, possibly a stackable washer and dryer. So if you're adding these additional amenities inside the room, guess what? It takes up space. So that extra 50 square feet, that 300 square feet makes it work. Ideally, we would love something that's about 400 to 500 square feet. That like suite type rooms those are the ones that we like. And then if they already have kitchenettes in them, that's even better. Amenities. So obviously, if we're talking about Sunbelt states, we're talking about a swimming pool, maybe some outside sitting space. We're talking about maybe a workout facility, common areas that people can congregate in. I mean, we are flexible, but those are some of the things that we look for. Maybe flexible workspace, conference rooms, things of that nature. Room count. We would like 100 unit minimum. We would look at sub 100 depending on the location, condition of the property, what's it need. And the reason we do 100 minimum is because to do something that's like 80 units and to do something 100 units, the cost is pretty similar, and it's just better to have more units, more money you make. I mean, that's just the elementary answer, but that's really what we look at. And so more assets or the assets that have 100 or more units are more profitable for what we do. And then room type, I just talked about this. We are flexible, but if you have an asset that has all kitchenettes in it, maybe it was a former extended stay type asset, that is a home run for us. That is the type of asset we're looking for. Makes it much easier, much faster, more cost effective if it already has a kitchenette in place, because we're just pulling out and plugging in new amenities is what we're doing. And then building height, we're flexible, but realistically, probably nothing higher than a 4-story. You get higher than that, that means you're probably in a major urban area, and then you're dealing with a different animal as far as dealing with the city and things of that nature. And then we ideally would love to deal with independent hoteliers. We've had the most success dealing with independent brands, independent hotelier, just because we have liquidated damages. Those things can be upwards of north of $500,000 depending on the property. In some cases, it could be 10 to 12% of what the property is actually worth. And then once you're doing that, then it can be very disruptive as far as the property actually even being a deal or make it workable. Okay, so location preferences. So just some key, and these are like key indicators that we look for. Healthcare, hospitals, medical plaza, education, retail, transportation hubs, or access to public transportation. Buses are a big thing. Maybe there's light rail, things of that nature. Typically with the assets that we have, we're talking about flexible living or entry-level housing. And some people don't have the means to actually have a car or transportation. So having access to that is a definite positive, because that would attract more people to be able to stay at the asset. All right, and then also major retailers: Costco, Trader Joe's, Sam's Club, Target. And the reason we have those on there is because they've already done the research. They've done the car counting. They know exactly how many people are in an area and what the traffic's like. And so we basically ride on their coattails. And then obviously we run at some type of international airport. Obviously we say 5 miles, but depending on if you're in a major metro, like say the city I live in, Phoenix, the closest major airport's about 25 minutes, 30 minutes away. So about 20 miles. If it's something like that, that would be fine. Obviously closer to the airport, better. But I understand in some of these larger cities, you're in a suburban area, you might be a little bit further than 5 miles, and that's okay. All right. So we just talked about proximity, about airports. So we're going to talk about other proximities that we look for. 1 to 5 miles within a hospital, university, shopping, retail, medical, and industrial complex, and those indicate jobs. And so we want to be within close proximity for somebody that has a job, that they can get to that job, and that they're not 20 miles away. So that's what we look for. Like I said, public transportation, and then obviously major retailers within 1 to 5 miles. Ideally, someone could walk from one of our assets to the grocery store and walk back, and it would be within a mile. So that would be a perfect world for us. All right. So acquisition. So how do we acquire these assets? So we can do cash. It's faster, but it would be a steeply discounted cash transaction. Um, we can do that, but just know that you're probably looking at something like 50 cents on the dollar or less type of thing. Seller financing, that is our favorite. That is what we've done the most of in our acquisitions is seller financing or creative acquisition methods. Um, and so that's what we like to do best. It takes a lot of unknown scenarios out of the way, as far as if we did like a traditional loan from a bank. It takes out the underwriter, it takes out the appraisal, it takes out items that are not in the control either of the buyer or the seller. And so we're not crushing our fingers sitting on our hands when you're doing seller financing, and it's also a little bit faster. Saying that, we will consider bank financing. We will do it, but with that, it requires deeper due diligence, requires an appraisal, and it requires typically an extended close of escrow to be able to do that, because with a bank you need time, and they basically call the shots on how fast they want to do something. So we're kind of at their mercy. But they're the ones that are, ponying up the money. So we're at their mercy, and so that's just something we have to deal with when it comes to that. And then we're also open to joint ventures, possible co-general partner, and maybe a joint operator. So we're willing to look at something like that to where it's a win-win transaction, with the owner in place. If they want to cash into some of the add value that we do to the property, this would be a possible good option for them as well. Okay, so our overall approach is, number one, we identify properties. That's probably what I spend most of my time doing, is trying to identify properties that might work. And then once I identify something that fits the metrics that we've just talked about, we evaluate the condition, the location, and then what it would cost to potentially redevelop that asset, and what's the potential of that asset once we rehab it. And then we acquire, we negotiate terms, and then we complete the acquisition part of the property. And then we go to the last stage, which is convert hotel into a modern, desirable apartment, flexible living complex. And so that is our 4 steps that we go through when we acquire an asset. Okay, so we are looking for our next project going into next year. So this is my contact information. The phone number is actually my cell itself, 623-695-0940. Info to motelstoapartments.com. And then if you want to check out our website, motelstoapartments.com. So we are, looking for to work with brokers, to work with owners of properties to, find an asset that would work for what we do. And so if you have something, or if you know an owner, or if you're a broker or agent, reach out to us. If you're an owner that you're seeing this and maybe you've got a portfolio and you want to liquidate one of your assets, please reach out to us. We would love to talk with you. So that's it for today. So feel free to reach out to us if you've got any deals. I'm starting to get a little bit more email and phone calls from different brokers and different people that see this webinar. Please keep reaching out, and maybe we can correlate and find a project that would be workable for what we're looking for. So with that, that is all for us today. So again, please feel free to reach out. I'll be more than happy to talk with you about any potential projects, and I hope everyone has a great day. Thanks.
Welcome to your new home in McAllen, Texas. This place used to be totally different. We took 29 motel rooms that were dated. Remember, these were built in the 50s, and we turned them around. We gutted these down to the studs. We replaced the electrical. We replaced the plumbing. We even added gas lines. And now we have a beautiful 29-unit multifamily. So bear with me, there's a lot that we're packaging into this one offer for the resident. In this motel to apartment conversion, we have sewer, water, trash, electric, internet, washer, dryer, dishwasher, microwave, oven, stove, all included for just one monthly fee.
Y no se preocupe, nosotros hablamos español. Go ahead and go to studiosonfourth.com, check out the floor plans that we have available, and submit your information. And just a friendly reminder, we have everything included: sewer, water, trash, electric, utilities, even fiber, high-speed internet. Submit your info, and we'll get back to you. Welcome home.